Before success becomes visible, it whispers. Most people never hear it. But those who do, they change the world. For over a century, the loudest victories have come from the quietest minds. Napoleon Hill didn't just speak about success, he revealed the silence that builds it. Before any empire was built, before any book was written, before any invention changed the course of history, there was a single thought, a silent, invisible force that existed only in the mind of its creator. That's where all success begins. Not in a crowd, not on a stage, not even in action. It begins in a space so quiet, most people never learn to listen to it. Napoleon Hill taught us that thoughts are things, but that truth is often overlooked because we live in a world obsessed with noise. The loudest wins, the flashiest sells, the quickest gets the spotlight. But real success doesn't start with noise. It begins in a quiet decision deep in your consciousness that whispers, I will, I must, I can. And that whisper, when believed, becomes a roar the world eventually hears. You see, the mind is the workshop of every dream ever achieved. Long before anyone else believes in you, you must believe in you. That belief, that invisible certainty, is what magnetizes the conditions and people required to bring your vision to life. Hill wasn't teaching magic, he was teaching cause and effect. The cause is always mental, the effect, physical. Those who forget that build their lives backward and often never see results. Now here's the tragedy. Most people don't fail because they don't have talent. They fail because they don't protect the silence long enough for a dream to take root. Their mind is too distracted, too filled with doubt, noise, comparison, and fear. The thought of success may flicker in for a moment, but they don't hold it. They don't nurture it, and so it dies before it ever takes form. The successful, however, are different. They think deliberately, they understand that the mind is not just a place for random ideas. It is the starting point of all power. Every great inventor, artist, leader, or entrepreneur first sat with their own thoughts. Long before the world sat with their work they envisioned, they believed. They rehearsed success mentally. They gave it life inside before demanding it outside. And here's where the depth of Hill's teaching really strikes your mind. It doesn't care whether you think success or failure. It just accepts what you dwell on. It doesn't question you. It executes. It creates according to what you focus on most. That's why the silent work of thought is sacred. It is creative energy in motion. Take a moment and ask yourself, what is the dominant thought you return to in silence? Is it possibility or limitation? Is it fear or faith? Because your reality, whether you know it or not, is being shaped by that silent choice. Your mind is either your most loyal servant or your most subtle saboteur. The only difference how you train it, how you direct it. And that direction must be deliberate. Hill practiced what he called definiteness of purpose, a crystal clear mental picture of exactly told it what you want, not vague hopes, not lukewarm desires, but a burning specific goal you hold in your mind like fire in your hand. You think about it daily, you write it, you speak it, you feel it until it becomes more real than your current circumstances. That's not delusion. That's leadership of the mind. That's the true starting point of transformation. When we understand this, we stop chasing results without first mastering thought. We stop trying to do more and instead learn to think better. Because action without aligned belief is struggle. But when your thoughts, emotions, and faith are all pointed in the same direction, action becomes power. It becomes inevitable and it begins quietly. So yes, every great success does start in silence, but don't mistake silence for weakness. The silence of a focused mind is the birthplace of empires. The solitude where dreams are chosen, refined, and made unshakable. Those who win are those who learn to sit with themselves long enough to become the person their future demands. Let the world be loud. Let others rush. You go within, refine your thought, strengthen your belief, and listen carefully to the quiet voice that dares to say, I was made for more. Because in the end, success isn't found in the noise of applause. It's born in the silence of decision. And that decision is yours to make. Desire. It's a word we hear often but rarely understand. Most people confuse desire with a wish or a fleeting want, like wanting a better car. a bigger home, a promotion, a vacation. But those are surface wants. They come and go, they entertain the mind for a moment and disappear the next. What Napoleon Hill spoke of was something far deeper, something sacred, the kind of desire that burns without permission, that keeps you awake when the world sleeps, that pulls you forward even when logic tells you to stop. This kind of desire isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. It's the invisible engine that drives every act of greatness. Not one success story in history has ever been written without it. And yet, most people have never truly felt it. They felt excitement, they felt envy, they felt pressure. But desire, the kind Hill wrote about, is pure power, waiting to be harnessed. Now here's the paradox. True desire often starts in stillness, not noise. You don't always see it roaring from the outside. It begins in that quiet space of imagination where a thought becomes a craving, and a craving becomes a necessity. And eventually that necessity becomes a demand, not on the world, but on yourself. A demand to rise, to act, to become something more than you were yesterday. Desire, when it's real, changes you. It forces you to ask new questions, take new risks, think new thoughts. It doesn't wait for circumstances to align, it moves despite them. You don't negotiate with it, you obey it, because once you know what you want with absolute clarity, your life can no longer remain the same. But, and this is critical, desire without direction is dangerous. It burns, but it doesn't build. So Hill taught us the importance of definiteness, he said. There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. That readiness comes from discipline, taking that raw desire and shaping it into something usable, something focused, something that can survive the obstacles ahead. You must ask yourself, what do I truly want? Not what sounds impressive, not what others expect, but what moves me, what would I be willing to suffer, for fight for, to grow for? Because anything less than that is not desire. It's entertainment. And entertainment doesn't lead to achievement. When you find that burning desire, it becomes your inner fuel. And here's the beautiful part, it doesn't run out. In fact, the more you act on it, the more it grows. You begin to see opportunities where others see problems. You feel energy when others feel fatigue. You keep moving when others stop. Why? Because you are no longer operating on willpower alone. You are driven by something deeper, something anchored in purpose. That's what makes desire different from motivation. Motivation fades. It relies on mood, on momentum, on external triggers. But desire, that real core soul level desire, it stays. It's not tied to your environment. It's not dependent on who supports you. It doesn't care if you failed yesterday or if you broke today. It only asks one thing: will you honor me? And when you do, life responds, doors open. Not all at once, but enough to keep going. You begin to attract ideas, mentors, and moments that align with your desire. That's not superstition, it's alignment. The world starts bending toward the one who is already burning from within. Hill often said, the starting point of all achievement is desire. But he didn't just mean the start of a goal. He meant the start of your transformation, because when you desire something deeply enough, you can't stay the same person. You become someone worthy of what you want. That's the silent power behind every great success. Not luck, not chance, but a burning, consuming desire that refuses to die. So if you're still unsure where to begin, begin there. Go inside, sit with your mind, not to escape, but to discover, to uncover the one thing that keeps calling to you when the world is quiet. That is your true desire, and once you find it, never let it go. Because the future belongs not to those who wish, but to those who burn. There's a force within you right now that has the potential to alter everything in your life. Not tomorrow, not next year, but in this very moment. And that force is faith, not religious belief, not blind optimism, but a deep internalized certainty in knowing that what you imagine with clarity and commit to with action will eventually become real. Now, most people misunderstand faith. They think it's something you're either born with or not. They confuse it with hope or positive thinking. But faith, as Hill taught us, is not passive. It's not just believing something might happen. It is the unwavering belief that it must. That your vision, your goal, your desire is already real in the unseen. And all you're doing now is catching up to it with action. This is why faith is the bridge between thought and reality. Thought by itself is neutral. Its potential, it's raw. It lives in the imagination, and while it may be vivid and emotional, it cannot move the world unless it's empowered. Faith is what gives it that power. Faith is what transforms the abstract into the concrete. It's what turns an idea into a business, a vision into a movement, a dream into a legacy. Without faith, your plans will collapse under the weight of doubt. Your energy will wither in the face of resistance. You'll talk yourself out of what you're capable of before the world ever has the chance to test you. Why? Because your subconscious mind doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you believe is possible. This is why Hill emphasized auto-suggestion so fiercely. Repetition is not about convincing the world. It's about reprogramming. You are constantly feeding your subconscious mind, whether consciously or not. Every word, every thought, every emotional reaction is a seed, and those seeds grow. If you plant fear, you get hesitation. If you plant doubt, you get inaction. But if you plant faith, real, persistent, emotionally charged belief, you get momentum. You get power. You get manifestation. Think about it. Every breakthrough that's ever happened in human history began with someone who saw something others couldn't see and believed in it. Anyway, the world said impossible, and they said inevitable. They weren't waiting for evidence, they were creating it. Faith, then, is not just personal, it's revolutionary. Because when you believe in something fully, you change, not just your internal state, you alter your decisions, your relationships, your environment, you walk differently, you speak differently, and people feel it. Faith is magnetic, it draws resources, people, timing. That's not luck. That's alignment between inner conviction and outer effort. But let's not romanticize it. Faith will be tested, it will be challenged. You'll have days when your vision feels distant, when your results don't match your beliefs, when the people around you question your sanity. That's the cost of building anything worthwhile. The test isn't whether things go smoothly. The test is whether your belief survives the delay. Can you continue to act as if before the world gives you permission? This is where most people fall off. They need proof before persistence. They need applause before consistency. But faith doesn't need evidence. Faith is the evidence. It is the signal to your mind and to the universe that you are no longer hoping, you are creating. So how do you cultivate this kind of belief? You speak it, you feel it, you surround yourself with it. You guard your mental environment like it's sacred, because it is. You replace every limiting narrative with a new one. You stop negotiating with fear. You discipline your thoughts. You read, you affirm, you visualize, and most importantly, you act. Because every action you take in faith strengthens the neural pathways that say, this is who I am now. That's how the unseen becomes seen, not through luck, not through chance, but through belief that refuses to die. Remember this. Your faith will either be in your fears or in your future. One will paralyze you, the other will propel you. Choose wisely. Because the world bends not to those who wait, but to those who believe beyond what is visible, and act as if the vision were already real. Let's talk about the one thing that separates those who dream from those who achieve: action rooted in a definite purpose. You see, desire in its raw form is not enough. Everyone desires something: wealth, health, love, recognition. But few take that desire and give it direction. Fewer still attach it to a clear, unwavering aim. And fewer than that act on it with relentless discipline. Desire, when unchanneled, becomes fantasy. But when you take that desire and fuse it with a definite purpose, something so clear you can write it down, something so precise you can measure progress toward it, then it becomes a force, a living, breathing force that begins to attract the very means of its realization. Definiteness of purpose is not a motivational slogan, it's a psychological law. The mind without a target wanders. It doubts, it entertains distractions, it sabotages itself. But when you give it a singular aim, something happens. The conscious mind focuses and the subconscious mind aligns. The whole being, mental, emotional, spiritual, organizes itself around that pursuit, and action becomes inevitable. You've seen it in people who are truly committed. They don't ask, will it work? They ask, how do I make it work? They don't hesitate. They don't pivot with every breeze of difficulty. Their purpose becomes their filter. Decisions become easier because everything is weighed against that one aim. Does this move me closer to it or not? If not, it's discarded. No apology, no confusion. That's the kind of clarity most people never reach. Not because it's unattainable, but because they never decide what they truly want. They're afraid to commit. They fear the failure that might follow, but here's the truth: indecision is the real failure. It keeps you running in circles. It wastes your most precious resource, your time. Now, Hill said it plainly. There is no hope of success for the person who does not have a central purpose or definite goal at which to aim. This isn't theory, it's cause and effect. Without a definite purpose, you cannot build momentum, and without momentum, you cannot build anything that lasts. Once a desire is given the destination, action must follow. Not perfect action, not massive action on day one, but movement, progress, effort. The universe does not respond to thought alone, it responds to thought backed by action, and it rewards decisiveness. Life moves for those who move first, who speak with intention, who act with courage, who don't wait for perfect conditions. And when you do act, something begins to change in your psychology. You start to build evidence. You begin to prove to yourself that this desire is not just an emotional spark, it's a command. Every step you take becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. Your belief deepens, your identity evolves. You stop being the one who hopes and become the one who executes. There's a subtle but powerful truth here. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. People wait for the fog to lift before they start walking, not realizing it's the walking that clears the path. You don't need to know every step. You need to commit to the first step and the purpose behind it. And with each move forward, the path becomes clearer, the resistance weaker, the desire stronger. Think of it like this: a burning desire is the engine, but definiteness of purpose is the steering wheel. Without direction, all your energy scatters. With it, you move forward with force, accuracy, and purpose. And when that kind of movement is sustained, success becomes a matter of time, not chance. Let's not pretend this is easy. The world is full of noise, of opportunities to get sidetracked, to settle to doubt your path. That's why definiteness of purpose isn't just a goal, it's a discipline. You revisit it daily, you refine it, you protect it, because once you lose it, your momentum dies. And once momentum is gone, it takes enormous energy to restart. But once you've tasted the power of purpose, you won't want to live without it. You'll feel it in the way you wake up, in the way you walk into a room, in the way people respond to your energy. There's something magnetic about a person who knows where they're going and moves with conviction. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. So I leave you with this. If your desire is real, give it a direction, define it, write it, own it, then move. Because purpose without action is a dream, but purpose with action, that's destiny in motion. There's a truth about success that often goes unnoticed, not because it's hidden, but because it's quiet. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't demand attention, it doesn't show up with a spotlight or applause. But it's there, always there, doing its work beneath the surface. That truth is persistence. You see, desire gives you the spark, purpose gives you direction, but persistence is what gets you through the fog, through the doubt. What most people don't understand is that success is not usually the result of one grand moment. It's not one opportunity, it's not one leap of courage, it's hundreds of small steps repeated consistently, often without feedback, often without praise, often without results for a while. Persistence is your agreement with yourself that the process matters more than the outcome, at least for now. Think of the seed buried in the soil. You water it, you protect it, you wait. Through the long stretches where nothing seems to be working, it's the quiet decision to keep going when every external sign says stop, and in that decision repeated daily, you shape your future. Napoleon Hill called persistence the sustained effort necessary to induce faith and translate plans into action. And he was right. Without persistence, faith withers, plans collect, thus vision becomes regret. It's not that the dream wasn't real, it's that it was never given a chance to grow roots. For days, weeks, maybe even months, you see nothing. But does that mean nothing is happening? Of course not. Below the surface, systems are forming, roots are spreading. Nature understands what we often forget. Things must grow before they can bloom. And persistence is the gardener's faith that growth is happening even when it's invisible. The problem is most people stop too soon. They quit 3 feet from gold, as Hill famously said. They dig, they sweat, they invest energy, and then just before the breakthrough, they stop. Why? Because the silence became too loud, because the reward took too long, because their mind, not their circumstances, told them it wasn't working. But if they had persisted, if they had trusted the process a little longer, they might have discovered that the universe often tests resolve before it delivers reward. And those who pass that test are the ones who refuse to abandon the climb, no matter how steep the road becomes. Persistence is not a personality trait, it's a choice. And like all choices, it can be practiced, cultivated, strengthened. Every time you decide not to give up when you stay 5 minutes longer, make one more call. Revise a plan. Instead of throwing it away, you're conditioning your character. You're proving to your subconscious mind that you are someone who follows through, and that identity becomes fuel for the next challenge. There's also something else. Persistence is contagious. It inspires belief in others. When people see that you're not just interested but committed, doors open, opportunities emerge, support arrives. Why? Because people invest in consistency. They trust those who are in it for the long haul. Now, I'm not talking about blind persistence. There's a difference between stubbornness and strategic perseverance. When something isn't working, don't quit, adjust, adapt, iterate, but don't stop moving. Don't confuse the need for a new method with the need to abandon the mission. The goal remains even if the path changes. And here's something I've learned again and again. The day you want to quit the most is usually the day before something shifts. That's not motivational fluff. It's psychological reality. Resistance peaks just before release. The mind rebels most when it's about to be reshaped. And those who understand that, those who push through, are the ones who wake up one day and realize they're living the life they once only imagined. So if you're in that place where it's hard, where it's slow, where it feels like no one sees you good, that means you're on the path. Stay on it, trust it, keep showing up. Because persistence is not loud, but it is undefeated. It doesn't promise speed, but it guarantees growth.